Hello, welcome back to LeEdFollow. Today we're going to be taking half a bottle of Japanese sake, we're going to be taking half a bottle of German Weiss beer, we're going to mix them together, we're going to see what it tastes like. Okay, so stupid analogy I know, but with all tomfoolery aside, I thought it was about time we have a little talk about the new Supra. I say new, it's actually been with us since 2019 now. And before we go any further, I need to stress that I am a big Supra fanboy. People have told me that they think I hate Supras because of the way I've moaned about the Mark 5 in the past, but nothing could be further from the truth. I've actually owned 3 Mark 4s. It was a UK spec twin turbo auto was my first one. Then I had a JDM import non-turbo 5-speed, and then I had a JDM import non-turbo aero top auto. I've also had a Mark II Supra, which I did a LS400 V8 swap, the 1UZ. That was quite spicy. So before anybody gets upset with a GT86 owner talking about Supras like he knows what he's talking about, rest easy, I do know what I'm talking about. I've had enough to know the Supra pretty damn well. So let's get cracking. Well, to start off with, it's safe to say that the new Supra has been anything short of controversial. The Mark IV Supra wrapped up production back in 2002. And it took a whole 17 years until the Mark V Supra arrived, but it appeared to have come through customs from Japan on a German passport. Now, Toyota didn't really have much choice but to partner with BMW on this. As we all know, they didn't have a straight-six engine available in their own lineup, and they would never sell enough Supras to justify all the cost developing a new engine themselves. And even if they were to use one of their existing V6 engines, they would still struggle to justify the costs to develop up one of those to a point that it would do the car's name justice. So having had success in the Subaru-Toyota partnership on the GT86 and the BRZ, it was obvious to Toyota that they would need to collaborate with another manufacturer if there was ever going to be another Supra. So we all know how this one worked out. Toyota did the deal with BMW, we got our new Supra, sharing the structural underpinnings and powertrains as the BMW Z4. The end. Well, not quite. Toyota said that one of the big reasons for partnering with BMW was because they were one of the few manufacturers still making straight-six engines, and that having previously asked existing Supra owners what the next Supra must unequivocally be, they said it must be a straight-six. When in reality, most Supra owners probably wouldn't have been too upset at all if the new Supra had been given a V6 or any other arrangement for that matter. Just look at Nissan, and I do apologise if I make any mistakes, I'm really not a Nissan guy, but the 240Z, 260Z, 280Z, they were all straight sixes. I think it was around about the time of the 280ZX and the 300ZX that they changed to V6s, and then of course 350Z, 370Z, the new Z, they're all V6s. So it doesn't really matter if you go from a straight 6 to a V6, nobody really cares. Their main gripe was the fact that the Toyota Supra didn't really appear to be a Toyota at all. Built on the BMW Z4 platform, using a BMW engine, having all the interior switchgear and technology from BMW, and being built in a third party's factory in Austria? What part of the new Toyota Supra actually comes from Toyota? Is any of it Japanese? Well, I hear ya. I was one of those people. I was massively disappointed and in fact, probably a bit angry at Toyota if I'm really honest. Having been a Supra fan for many years, I felt a bit cheated, like a lot of other Supra fans did, and almost to the point of wishing that they hadn't made a new Supra at all. Because it wasn't like the Subaru collaboration done at all for the GT86 and the BRZ. I mean, that car was still built in Japan, and the new flat 4 boxer engine with its direct injection was actually a Toyota design. And on the interior, there were a mixture of both Toyota and Subaru switchgear, so it felt like a Toyota with Subaru bits, or a Subaru with Toyota bits. But either way, it was a brand new car with a brand new name, and it didn't have to live up to any heritage like the Supra did. So the car has very much divided opinion. Die-hard Supra fans generally said it's not a Supra, it needs a 2JZ, and others said, why are you upset that your Supra is now using BMW parts? Doesn't that make it better? Well, here's the thing. I was one of those die-hard fans, and it's taken the new Supra to be out for 4 years now, but I no longer have a problem with it being German, and I'll tell you why. Well, firstly, let's talk about all those Supra fans that said, you should have a 2JZ. Why? Why does it need a 2JZ? The Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, none of them had a 2JZ, only the Mark 4 did, so that makes no sense. And if we're being a bit honest, I think that engine's a bit overrated. Yes, the 2JZ was a super strong engine, capable of huge tuning and horsepower, but people seem to forget it's also a pretty heavy cast iron block, which really affects the car's handling. Remember the Castrol Tom's GAGTC Mark 4 Supra touring car? If you play Gran Turismo, you'll know what I mean. Well, that car didn't even have a 2JZ. It ran a 2-litre 4-cylinder race engine called the 503E, which was similar in many ways to the 3S GTE found in the Celica GT4. So to do the Supra name justice, its engine just needs to be powerful, strong and tunable. The BMW B58 engine used in the new Supra is actually all those things. Toyota even famously took one back to Japan, stripped it down, highlighted the BMW all the things they didn't like about it and wanted to be improved before it then went into the Supra. But the main thing here is that the end result was an engine that got the Toyota stamp of approval for reliability. It's also fully aluminium, which is pretty much how all modern engines are constructed. So now the Supra isn't such a nose-heavy beast, and it's now closer than it's ever been to a perfect 50-50 weight distribution. So while we're on the subject of engines, let's talk performance. The new Supra has more power than any previous Supra that came before it, and it also has the quickest 0 to 62 time. There are already many people tuning them up, and from my own Mark 4 Supra tuning experience, the Mark 5 seems to be pretty easy to extract extra power from. These days, basic modifications and a remap will get you close to 500 horsepower at the flywheel. That kind of power in a Mark 4 Supra would have taken a bunch of fueling and intercooler upgrades plus a turbo upgrade, as the factory twin turbos weren't much good beyond 400 horsepower. So extracting power from the Mark 5 is a lot easier than it's ever been before. But the new Supra isn't just a straight line machine anymore. It's now less of the hairy-chested GT cruiser it once was, and it's now more of a proper sports car, like a muscular 86 if you will. So it's now better through the corners than it's ever been before. Some of that is down to the torsional rigidity, said to be higher than that of the Lexus LFA, but also it's down to the low centre of gravity, touted by Toyota as actually being lower than that of the 86 at the time. So we know the drivetrain is good and the handling is good, but what about those looks? Well, again, that divides opinion. Some love it, some hate it. Some, like myself, believe the car looks great from the back and the sides, but a bit weird from the front. But that's all Toyota. BMW had no part to play in the styling of this car. The way the Supra looks is completely the result of the FT1 concept from back in 2014. They had to, of course, squeeze the concept down significantly to make it fit on the BMW Z4 underpinnings. But I personally think they did a good job of it, and I expect looks-wise that this car will probably age quite well. Let's move on to the interior. Yes, there are no Toyota buttons or anything that you would remember seeing in a Corolla, but when so much of this car is BMW and it's built in Austria, it makes sense it uses BMW interior items too, which isn't really a big deal. Switches are switches at the end of the day. As long as they work, who cares? Speaking of which, the infotainment is of course all BMW iDrive, but that's a good thing as it's way better than the Toyota Lexus systems available at the time. So the seats. They actually really feel like Toyota seats in a way and remind me a lot of the GR seats that you find in the GR Yaris. So all good, as those are great seats. On that note, Supras have always been 2+2s, i.e. 4-seaters. But anyone that's owned a Mark 4 Supra will know that there is zero legroom behind the driver and passenger, unless they are about 4 foot tall. So those rear seats were only any good as a place to throw your jacket. So removing the rear seats in the Mark 5, I think that's a really smart move. Again, let's go back to the Nissan Z cars. The earlier ones were available in 2+2 or 2+0, i.e. 4 seats or 2 seats. But from the 350Z onwards, they've all been only 2-seaters, and I think they're better for it. And that's pretty much it. I mean, time's quite a fantastic healer, and given 4 years, my opinion of the Supra has changed all the way from hating it to loving it, actually. Quite like it now. But let us know in the comments what you think. Do you still hate the Supra? Do you love it now? Have you always loved it? Would you buy a Supra? So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now. I wonder if I've got any bratwurst and potato salad in the fridge.